Dear Earth 2 players. In this video I will be looking at the Earth 2 draft update. I'm very excited about the future for Earth 2. The draft paper looks thoroughly made, and is even more ambitious than I had hoped for. We will read their update out loud, and somewhat comment along the way. As the paper is 40 pages long, this will end up in several videos, which will be put into a playlist on YouTube. Hopefully this video will help making the draft update even more accessible, and help spreading the info. But before we dive into the content, first their disclaimer, it sounds like this.
Disclaimer. The content provided in this draft summary and Earth 2 update is intended solely to provide general background information about Earth 2's proposed objectives. It should not be interpreted as a white paper, disclosure statement, representation, or promise. The content should be considered as an indicative update, but remains subject to change without notice. The information in this update was posted with reasonable care and attention. However, no representation or warranty, express or implied, is made by Earth 2 as to the fairness, accuracy, completeness or correctness of the information, opinions and conclusions contained in this draft summary and update. Earth 2 disclaims all liability for direct or indirect losses resulting from using, relying or acting upon information in the draft summary and update.
And so do we. Please do not consider this as financial advice in any way, as we are not financial advisors. With this out of the way, let's move into the first impressive statements from the draft paper. As of February 2022, there have been sold more than 90 million tiles on Earth 2. More than $14 million have been paid out to players. Earth2.io has more than 150,000 monthly active users. Over 5 million property trades have been made. More than 112 million essence have been earned by the players. Earth 2 has more than 170,000 followers. I believe this is across all their social media platforms. More than 230,000 Hala buildings have been created. Average visiting time per user is more than 10 minutes. More than 20% of visits are from the USA. More than 1.4 million jewels have been crafted. And finally, more than 1.6 million jewels have been sold by the players. Regarding jewels, there are some of them which are special. There are around 72,000 luminous jewels. But there are only 274 brilliant jewels. Brilliant jewels are created by chance, when crafting luminous jewels. As only 274 have ended up as brilliant jewels, while 72,000 became luminous, the brilliant jewels definitely are extremely rare. This is also why we see T3 brilliant jewels trading well above $1,000 in the Earth 2 bazaar. We still don't know the use case for brilliant jewels, so for now, the high price point is speculative. But as crafting a luminous T3 jewels also costs 168 essence, they definitely represent some value, especially as way less than 1% turn out brilliant. After these in-game facts, let's move to a short feedback message from Earth2.io.
Community feedback. As this is a draft summary and update document, we expect there to be future internal iterations of this document to come. If you have feedback, ideas or thoughts you would like to share with us regarding this document, please email us so we can review them as we continue to finalize our plans at feedback@earth2.io.
And now to section 1 of the draft update paper. Introduction. The People's Metaverse. We start off with a quote from the Earth 2 founder, Shane Isaac.
The place you now stand is digitally represented inside of Earth 2, manifesting the beginning of an omnipresence, imperative toward achieving the ultimate goal of a metaverse, which feels as though it lives, breathes and exists around you, wherever you may stand on this planet. Quote, Earth 2 founder, Shane Isaac.
And now, to the draft paper update, section 1.
Introduction. The People's Metaverse. Earth 2 is a futuristic concept for a second Earth, a metaverse, between virtual and physical reality, in which real-world geolocations, on a section map, correspond to user-generated digital virtual environments. These environments produce digital assets, can be owned, bought and sold, and, in the near future, deeply customized. This draft update will detail how these digital environments will continue to evolve, far beyond their current capabilities. Earth 2 will begin as a pristine, untouched and uninhabited virtual version of Earth. It will ultimately be player-designed, created, built and owned, using the technology developed by the Earth 2 team. Each piece of virtual land will maintain an irrefutable link back to the physical world through its unique, corresponding geolocational attribute. What is built inside Earth 2 will be the result of either player time, investment, effort, or a mixture of all three. This will serve to create a justifiable extrinsic value on everything that exists within Earth 2 and therefore reinforce a true play-to-earn ecosystem. Launching in November of 2020, Earth 2 experienced unprecedented growth and remains the biggest registry of virtual land holdings in the world across all metrics, including the amount of land sold and the number of unique people who own that land. Using common growth measurement rules in the industry, within 12 months of launch, Earth 2 is one of the most successful consumer startups in history in terms of user adoption, revenue, user-to-user sales, and engagement rates. It is impossible to ignore the fact that the metaverse space is an exciting one, with a growing number of reasons as to why reputable companies such as JP Morgan are claiming it will become a $1 trillion market opportunity in yearly revenues. But at this early stage, the metaverse space is convoluted and is fast becoming a difficult area for people to understand, navigate, and most importantly, discover. Web3, the metaverse, and Earth 2. Web 2, or the Internet as we know it today, is largely represented by search engines and applications, apps, that people utilize to find, view, and interact with content displayed on mostly 2D web pages controlled by centralized sources. There is popular discussion around what Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3 are, and the next expert in the field will provide a slight variation to the previous definition each and every time. There is, however, a general consensus that Web 1 was launched in the mid to late 80s and was created to be used by mostly large corporations and not for individuals, the Read era. Web 2 began somewhere in the first 5 years of the 2000s, and due to a more widespread learning of programming languages, frameworks, tools, and networking, more people were able to build on the web, which in turn increased user-to-user interactive websites, games, content creation, and social media services, all delivered in a progressively graphically appealing 2D-styled environment, the Right era. And now there is general consensus that Web 3 will be heavily focused on the introduction of a decentralized web that functions around decentralized applications, decentralized finance, and irrefutable ownership provided by various blockchains. The user becomes the owner, the ownership era. It is also widely accepted that Web 3 will include the broader introduction of immersive 3D experiences as opposed to the current 2D format provided in Web 2. Long term, it is anticipated that most experiences inside of Web 3 will take place in 3D environments, as evidenced by the natural association people have formed between Web 3 and the metaverse. There is no doubt that Web 2 is the current on-ramp for the transition into Web 3, but Earth 2 is positioned to introduce ways in which Web 2 and Web 3 data is represented in visual maps, locations, and 3D-centric environments, and will focus on capitalizing on this opportunity. Displaying and connecting Web 3 and external metaverse-driven experiences is one core area that Earth 2 will leverage to cement itself into the broader progress and representation of Web 3. Exciting projects, whether they be Web 3 driven, metaverse driven, or somewhere in between, emerge daily around the world. It is difficult to discover these projects and even harder to ascertain which of them are popular and may spark the viewer's own personal interest. Discovering these projects on 2D Web 2 websites also leaves a lot to be desired. Earth 2 is the biggest central point of ownership for virtual real estate in the world, and our vision is for the growth we have experienced, the technology we have been building, and our passionate community to assist us in achieving our next goal. Earth 2's goal is to become a central point for Web 3 and other metaverse projects by providing the ability to display, link, and create visual representations of them and their data within the Earth 2 metaverse and the 3D, digital, Earth-sized world we are building. Without early users, subsequent users do not join a platform. Those early users are often rarely recognized and certainly not significantly rewarded or compensated inside Web 2. It is the early adopters, the pioneers, that drive the popularity of a service or the success of a product. Web 3 provides a way for projects to reward those early adopters with the likes of tokens and NFTs, so when the project wins, so do its greatest supporters. Even as the centralized platform it is currently, Earth 2 has uniquely been able to achieve this mutually beneficial relationship with our players, resulting in tens of thousands of players not only making, but being paid out over $14 million to date, for trading virtual land and assets on the Earth 2 platform. This has all been achieved inside a fiat-driven environment, and it is anticipated that the introduction of Web3 to Earth 2 will see an exponential growth in all metrics while allowing us to continue rewarding our early adopter players in addition to the early rewards claimed through land ownership alone. This draft update marks the beginning of the much-anticipated move to decentralization and tokenization of digital assets inside Earth 2. The first step will see the tokenization of the core player element, Essence, followed by plans to decentralize the ownership of close to 100 million player-owned tiles to date, by minting the digital assets as NFTs on-chain.
These interesting introductions and Metaverse background info lead us to a longer quote from Shane.
I see Web3 going as far as possibly correcting some of the global distribution of wealth and providing more opportunities for the average person who spends time online to become part of that distribution. I have no issue with large corporations becoming part of Web3 and building inside the Metaverse. In fact, they need to have a presence there which will be extremely beneficial for them, but that presence should be directly aligned with the players and consumers through decentralized assets ownership. So part of this scenario would see them operating the Metaverse on an open and permissionless basis, as we see with many other Metaverse projects but which is not currently the case for them, and partaking in the game and platform as an autonomous entity to work or trade with other players to achieve their ambitions and more. This is the reason we have implemented a very simple token allocation system that provides most of the tokens back to the players as rewards through play to earn inside Earth 2's Metaverse. This is also one of the reasons we are introducing the definition of the People's Metaverse. Given Earth 2's plans to create an in-depth governance system that will see land tiles becoming NFTs that feature multidimensional voting rights and invites large corporations to work alongside us, as the players, instead of above us. Quote, Earth 2 founder, Shane Isaac.
This quote from Shane concludes section 1 of the draft paper. It also concludes the first video in the draft paper series. If you like this video, please like, share and follow GoXP on YouTube.